Welcome, everyone, to the NewVision, OldWays podcast, a greatly ambitious journey of discovery where we can all learn to live better, mentally healthier, and more fulfilling lives. If you're just discovering us, feel free to go back and take the journey from the beginning. And if you're already a NewVision, OldWays fan, welcome back and enjoy season
7.
And now, here is your host, Tony Marinaccio.
You are listening to NewVision, OldWays, the podcast that explores timeless wisdom for the modern mind in a fun, relaxed, and most important, interactive way with you, the listener. I am your host, Tony Marinaccio, and let's get the episode started. Welcome, Visioneers, to another great episode of the NewVision, OldWays podcast. And yes, I was off for a few weeks. I actually took a vacation. Believe it or not, I actually get one of those once in a great while. And it was on the West Coast, specifically California, enjoying the sun and the surf and everything out there. So it was awesome. But do I have an eye-opening, maybe life-changing episode for you today? But before I delve into that, I want to thank you, the listener, for making season 7 start off with a bang. Thanks to you, NewVision, OldWays has now reached 55 countries, 367 cities worldwide. And yes, I do want to celebrate that because with little to no advertising, it has just spread to places I would not have dreamed of. And so I appreciate all of that. And you, the Visioneers, the listeners, have made it all possible. And I so appreciate every single one of you. And believe me, I thank you more than you can imagine. So let's keep the momentum going. If you like the show, share the link to friends, family. If you like the show, think about supporting it on Patreon, the very secure way to donate to the show. And you can do that at Patreon. And Patreon is spelled Patreon. So patreon.com/NewVision, OldWays. All one, it's all connected. So patreon.com/NewVision, OldWays. And you can donate monthly, or you are able to make a one-time donation, then cancel if you desire. I know that was an option that many of you asked about. So options are always great, right? So after all of that, what will I be discussing today that may change how you look at life? Well, the answer to that may start with something as simple as water. Yes, water, one of the key elements of life. Can water hold some sort of key to our view of spirituality? Can water tell us more about us and the world around us than we ever could have imagined? Well, there is no time better to find that out than right now by starting episode 65, Water, Thoughts, and God, the Undeniable Connection.
Water, the elixir of life, has always held a place of reverence in human societies. We depend on it for survival, we celebrate its beauty in art and literature, and yet, for most of human history, we have perceived it merely as a substance. Dr. Masaru Emoto, a Japanese researcher with a background in alternative medicine, dared to look beyond the surface. He proposed that water is not just a passive substance, but a sentient entity capable of responding to human emotions and energy. His book, The Hidden Messages in Water, presents a compelling case for this perspective, challenging us to rethink our relationship with this fundamental element. His research, though met with skepticism by some in the scientific community, opened up a fascinating window into the mysteries of water. Emoto's work reminds us that the universe is full of wonders that we are only beginning to understand. Through his unique approach, he invites us to consider the possibility that water may hold secrets that could unlock a deeper understanding of consciousness and the interconnectedness of all beings. Emoto's work, though controversial, serves as a powerful reminder that the natural world is full of mysteries that we have yet to unravel. It encourages us to approach the unknown with curiosity and open-mindedness, embracing the possibility that our current understanding of the universe is far from complete. His legacy lies not just in his research but in his ability to inspire awe and wonder, reminding us of the extraordinary nature of the seemingly ordinary.
If you have been listening to NewVision, OldWays from the beginning, or at least several episodes in, I have rarely touched on spirituality or the belief in God or the non-belief in God. And this decision to stay away from that subject matter was and I will freely admit it, a way to avoid sounding too preachy to you, the listener. But then I got to thinking we could still talk about our spirituality without sounding like an old-time TV evangelist. And I just had to pick a starting point that can lay the groundwork for possible future episodes that have a spiritual baseline. Don't worry, I will not turn this podcast into a Sermon on the Mount, but this subject has been weighing on me for quite some time. And why? Well, look around you. We have protests for a king that never was. We have random acts of violence that are just too horrible to believe, yet they are true. The agenda media has all but divided this country completely in two, and our kids are being brought up to think that just about anything goes. And to many like me, it saddens us to the point of actual heartache. That's not an exaggeration. It's as real as it can get. And when I look at how we got to this point, I keep coming back to the one thing that a lot of people just don't want to talk about. So today, Visioneers, we're going to talk about it. The subject of our lost spirituality. It's happening all over the world. But since I only live in the U.S., I can only relate it to what I know. And what I know is we have lost a connecting guide that allows us to live our best lives and believe in a common, or probably better, common sense rules that we all share intuitively. Rules that we don't need to question, like murder is bad, stealing is bad, a healthy respect for the law, the willingness to get up and work hard to be a productive member of society. Common beliefs that should bind us together because we know this is how a society stays free, how a society sustains life, how a society leads by example. Not a perfect society, but a society that works towards a common goal. And there is a glue that can hold this all together. And that's our belief in something bigger than ourselves. And I will admit, I believe in God. Do I have proof that I could pull out of a 1970s movie briefcase to show all of you? No, I don't. So then how do I know? How does anyone know for sure? Well, I have a great place to start. Water. Water has always taken center stage in most religions. Specifically, in Christianity, Jesus refers to the Holy Spirit as living water that provides spiritual sustenance, healing, and eternal life. This implies a continuous flow of God's presence, rather than a stagnant source. Water is used for purification and baptism, and it is viewed as having a divine presence and life-giving power. So if you think about it, each of us has a story about water. Each of us could probably write a book about how water has impacted our lives. The more we think about water, I imagine, the more stories we have about water and how it formed us or transformed us, how it has saved us or renewed us, how it frightened us or connected us, how it inspired us. Water and God go together, which is why water is at the center of the singular, once-in-a-lifetime sacrament of baptism. Water nurtures the earth and wreaks havoc at the same time. If you've ever seen a hill ripped away, sliding from its foundation and burying all that it encounters, you know what I mean. Water can provoke such awe like my hometown favorite, Niagara Falls, or mountain peaks covered with snow, or rushing rivers, terrifying and invigorating simultaneously. On a slightly different thought line, if I wanted to, I could go back through my own life and point out many instances where things happened in my life that directly point me to the fact that there just has to be a God. But again, can I pull out the paperwork and prove those specific details? No. But over the past few years especially, I have been convinced that there are signs, physical, noticeable signs that the universe is energy. And by universe, I mean everything is energy, including each of us. And I have at many times with this podcast explored hard evidence that we can rewire our brains to think and feel differently. We can essentially reinvent ourselves. But how can that be? If all of this is just plain old random events, creating whatever, dust to dust, etc., right? But yet humans are mostly made of 70%, and you guessed it, water, and that has always fascinated me. Think about it, 70% water. And that number tends to decrease as we get older, but let's hold at 70% for now. And that leads me to a book I've been reading, The Hidden Messages in Water by Masaru Emoto. And like a lot of ideas that really stick with you, it sits right at that line between fascinating and controversial. Emoto put forward the claim that water could respond to words, music, and intention, that expressions like love and gratitude seem to produce beautiful symmetrical crystal formations, while negativity, anger, hate, chaos led to distorted and fragmented shapes. Now that idea immediately grabs your attention, right? Or at least it probably should, but I think it's important, especially if this is to be taken seriously, and I do want to say this clearly, scientifically, this has not been proven in a rigorous, repeatable way. The methodology has been questioned, and it doesn't meet the standards we would normally rely on to declare something objectively true. So if we're not careful, we fall into one of two traps. We either blindly accept it because it feels meaningful, or we dismiss it entirely because it doesn't meet strict scientific validation. But what if both of those reactions miss the deeper point? What if the real value here isn't in proving that water changes because of thoughts, but in recognizing something far more grounded and undeniable, something you don't need a lab to confirm, which is that humans change because of thoughts. And since we are made up of largely water, that change doesn't stay abstract in the mind. It becomes something we feel physically, something embodied, something real. Because if you pause for a moment and look at your own life, you already know this is true. It's undeniable. You've felt what negativity does to you, the way stress builds in your body, the tension in your shoulders, the heaviness in your chest, the mental fog that creeps in when you're surrounded by anger, division, or constant negativity. And on the other side of that, you felt what positivity does, how encouragement can lift you, how purpose can energize you, how gratitude can shift your entire state. Suddenly you're breathing differently, thinking more clearly, carrying yourself with more strength. And that isn't symbolic, that isn't imagined, that is something happening within you on a real physical level. Which brings us to something that is firmly grounded in science, neuroplasticity. And we have touched on this in several episodes here and there. And again, because it is so important. The understanding that the brain is not fixed, but adaptable. That is constantly reshaping itself based on repeated thoughts, behaviors, and emotional patterns. Meaning that what you think is not just passing through your mind, it is actively rewiring your brain, forming new pathways, reinforcing certain patterns, weakening others, literally changing the structure of the organ that defines how you experience reality. And when you really think about it, it should stop you in your tracks. Because now we are no longer talking about abstract philosophy. We are talking about something measurable, something observable, something real. How can something as intangible as a thought create something as physical as a neural pathway? And let me ask you that again. How can something as intangible as a thought create something as physical as a neural pathway? Another way to think of this is, how can something you cannot see, touch, or measure directly alter the very structure of your brain? How can belief influence biology? How can intention reshape matter within your own body? Because if everything is just truly random, if everything is just a series of blind chemical reactions with no underlying purpose, then why would the system be built in such a way that awareness itself can influence structure? Why would we have the ability to not just to react to the world, but to consciously participate in our own transformation? Because that begins to look a lot less like random chaos and more like design, less like accident and more like intention. And this is where the conversation opens up into something deeper, not as a forced conclusion, but as a natural question. Because if there is something in the system where the internal world influences the physical, where thoughts shape biology, where awareness can guide change, then it becomes increasingly difficult to say that all of this is meaningless, that this is all random, that this is all without direction. Instead, it begins to suggest that there is an order to things, an intelligence woven into the structure of reality itself, something that allows for growth, for change, for evolution, not just in a physical sense, but in a conscious one.
And now, Visioneers, let's take a quick break to let you know how you can support the show. By clicking on the Patreon donate link in the show notes, or by typing in patreon.com/NewVisionOldWays, or at the NewVisionOldWays.com website, you can show your support by donating directly to the New Vision Old Ways podcast. These episodes take time and money to produce, and by donating what you are able to, it will allow us to grow the show and give you the best content that we can. Of course, you can cancel at any time. Remember, click on the Patreon donate link in the show notes, or by typing in patreon.com/NewVisionOldWays, or at the NewVisionOldWays.com website. Hint, you are able to donate a one-time lump sum. Then, cancel right after. Options are always a good thing. Thank you, and now, back to the show.
So, now, back to the water that started all of this. Remember, Emoto put forward the claim that water could respond to words, music, and intention, that expressions like love and gratitude seem to produce beautiful, symmetrical crystal formations, while negativity, anger, hate, chaos led to distorted and fragmented shapes. To understand what he was actually doing, picture this. Water samples were exposed to different inputs, say spoken words, written labels like thank you or you fool, or even different types of music. And then those samples were frozen and photographed under a microscope. What Emoto reported was striking. Water exposed to positive language or harmonious music appeared to form intricate, almost snowflake-like crystals, balanced, geometric, visually stunning. In contrast, water exposed to negative words or harsh, chaotic sounds often appeared irregular, incomplete, even broken in structure. If you look at this from a completely open mind, you begin to realize that, at the very least, scientific validation be damned, there is something happening. Most people think of water as just an essential element, but essential is key here. Think of all of the things, elements included, that have to be perfectly in line to give this planet the life that inhabits the earth. It really has to be perfect. Otherwise, life could not exist as it is. That is fact, not opinion. So if we are 70% water, and we have the ability to intentionally change the way our brains work, how our bodies feel, and who and what we can become, common sense logic would have to say that water has the ability to change itself based on its environment and energy that is surrounding it. It is really not a big leap to say that we are part of a bigger picture. If all things are energy, including us, then when we die, it is easy for me to say now we merge back with our Creator.
Emoto's experiments revealed a clear pattern. Water exposed to positive stimuli formed beautiful, intricate crystals. Words like love, gratitude, and peace, when written on labels and placed on containers of water, resulted in stunning, symmetrical crystal formations. These visually striking images seem to suggest that water was not merely a passive substance, but an active participant in the exchange of energy. The implications of this discovery were profound. If water, a substance so fundamental to life, could respond to human emotions and intentions, what did this mean for our understanding of consciousness? Could it be that our thoughts and emotions have a tangible impact on the world around us, influencing the very fabric of reality? The beauty and complexity of the crystals formed under the influence of positive energy were undeniable. These images served as a powerful visual testament to the idea that positive emotions could have a tangible effect on the physical world. They presented a compelling argument for the interconnectedness of all things, suggesting that our thoughts and emotions could resonate with the world around us in ways we were only beginning to understand.
We can easily dismiss all of this. You can call it randomness with a dash of human potential. You can call it adaptive biology. You can call it the nature of consciousness. But at some point, the question naturally arises, where did that capacity come from? Because randomness does not typically produce systems that can observe themselves and then improve themselves through awareness. I'll say that once again. Randomness does not typically produce systems that can observe themselves and then improve themselves through awareness. Randomness does not give rise to meaning, to purpose, to direction, but design does. And if there is design, then the idea of a higher intelligence, of something greater than ourselves, of what many would call God, including myself, stops being a blind leap and starts becoming a reasonable conclusion drawn from observation, not something imposed, but something uncovered. And maybe that is where this entire idea finds its true strength. Not in whether water crystals can definitively be shown to change based on words, but in the undeniable reality that we are constantly changing based on what we think, what we say, and what we believe. That our inner world is not neutral, it is active. It is shaping us moment by moment. And because of what we are made of, because of how our bodies and brains function, that shaping is not just mental, it's physical, it is felt, it is lived. And so the responsibility with that is profound because it means what you focus on matters. What you repeat matters. What you allow into your mind matters. And whether or not water itself is responding to your words, one thing is certain. You are. And you are shaping yourself, your mind, your body, and ultimately your life, one thought at a time.
You become what you think about, and since the only thing that you can control is your thinking, if you change what you are thinking about, you will begin to change your reality. But listen carefully. Your life is not built in a single moment. It is built in repetition, in the quiet thoughts you repeat every day. If every morning you wake up expecting disappointment, your body prepares for disappointment. If you expect rejection, you move like someone who will be rejected. Thoughts become emotions. Emotions become posture. Posture becomes behavior. Behavior becomes destiny. Most people do not fail because they are incapable. They fail because they rehearse failure in their minds long before life even tests them. You do not attract what you want. You attract what feels familiar. So if you want a new life, you must first create a new inner voice. And this is the truth. If you change your thinking, you change your life.
And maybe, just maybe, that's the part we've been missing. Not more filtered information, not more noise, not more division, but a return to awareness. Because if everything we've talked about today holds even a fraction of truth, if your thoughts shape your mind shapes your body, and your internal world shapes your external reality, then this isn't just philosophy. This is responsibility. This is power. And this is something that most people are completely asleep to. It's easier to believe that life is happening to you than to accept that you are actively shaping it every single day through what you think, what you say, and what you choose to focus on. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, the next time negativity creeps in, the next time the world feels like it's spinning out of control, pause and ask yourself one simple question. What am I feeding my mind right now? Because that answer is shaping who you become. And if we are truly a part of something greater, if there is a design behind all of this, if there is a higher intelligence woven into the fabric of reality, then maybe the greatest gift we've been given is not just life itself, but the ability to participate in it, to shape it, to elevate it, and to align ourselves with something higher. None of this can be perfect, but we can live with intention, honesty, and integrity. So as you leave this episode today, carry this with you, not as a theory, but as a challenge. Speak better, think better, choose better, because whether or not water is listening, your life is, and it's responding to you.
Human beings largely suffer their own memory and imagination. That is, they suffer that which does not exist. What happened 10 days ago or 10 years ago, you can still suffer. What may happen day after, you can already suffer. This means your suffering is not of life. Your suffering is of your memory and imagination. Memory is accumulation of the past. Imagination is projection of what future could be. Both are not here right now. once you start suffering that which is not here, tell me where is the solution? If you're suffering what is there right now, there is a fix for that, there is a solution for that. But if you're suffering that which does not exist, there is no solution for that. So maximum amount of suffering that's happening in human minds is always about what they remember and what they imagine. This can be easily settled with a simple process within yourself. If you engineer your interiority a little bit, you can organize your memory, the awareness of present experience and imagination separately. Then your memory can enrich your life, your imagination can manifest your life in most fantastic ways. Let's make it happen.
So, what did you think of this episode or any of the episodes? We would love to find out. And here is where to get a hold of the show and let us know. These are in the show notes, but as always, here they are. There is a Patreon support link in the show notes and on the NewVision OldWays.com website that you can click on that will allow you to donate to the show and show your support. By donating what you can, it will allow us to book guests and cover costs. Anything will help. Cancel anytime. You can also message the show from each episode on your various platforms. Just look for the Send Us a Text Message link. If that doesn't work for you, you can email us at newvisionoldways@gmail.com. You can find us on what was Twitter now X at NewVisionOldWay, no S on that one. Check the New Vision Old Ways YouTube channel. Type in New Vision, one word, Old Ways, one word, channel, and please subscribe. It is free and will show support for the show. It really means a lot and will help grow the show on YouTube. Find us on Facebook, New Vision Old Ways. Podcast, you should easily find us. And as a reminder, these are still growing platforms for us and expanding all the time, so we need your help to get the flow going with the community. And last but not least, if you can do me a huge favor and subscribe to us, like us, follow us, leave a review on whatever platform you found us on. That would be so appreciated. That will also help secure guests that we will be booking in the future. So, here we are, Season 7. We have a lot to cover, so thank you for listening. We can't wait to get your input, and I also can't wait until we get together for the next episode of New Vision Old Ways. Until then, stay true to yourself, stay informed, and stay empowered.
But the most important thing is...
This episode and all the episodes of New Vision Old Ways podcast have been written, engineered, and produced by Tony Marinaccio and TKM Productions.